So yesterday, I took my kids to an Easter egg hunt, and they showed up, baskets ready, and I just remember like the look on their faces. They had like this, it's like this game on look, that there's like this hunger and then there's intensity, and you say go, and they run around searching everywhere for Easter eggs. And as I was thinking about it, I was thinking about how we live our life, either with or without expectations. Like, let's think of the same scenario. Picture I go to a place and I hide Easter eggs out there, and then I take my kids there and say, go play. It would be a very different scenario. Like, if you're not looking for those Easter eggs, you're not going to find them, if that makes sense. And I was just thinking of how when they were expecting to find it, they were looking for them everywhere. And a lot of times there's ones like, if I was casually walking through that park, I wouldn't have seen most of these, but if I was looking for Easter eggs, I would have found them. And I think that oftentimes when we approach life, we either approach it for one of two ways. We are either searching for something or we're not. And if we're not looking for it, we end up missing it. And the story we have today to go through, it's a story that takes place right after, or not long after, Jesus dies. So just to give a little bit of backdrop, is Jesus has died, and it wasn't just simply Jesus being beaten, bruised, crucified, and killed, but there's this underlying story that's happening with his followers. Because even though Jesus had alluded to the fact that his death was going to come at some point, they kind of really didn't want to believe it, or really they didn't fully understand what he was talking about. And these are people who had given up everything years before to come and follow him. They'd heard he was he was a teacher, he was a man who performed miracles, and he's a man that claimed he was the Son of God. And he was so compelling that they walked away from their families, they walked away from their jobs, they walked away from everything to be able to follow after him. And then to see him get taken and killed was this immense period of time where it was like the death of a dream. Everything they believed in, everything that they had been following after, was gone in an instant. And it makes me think of times in my life where I've been hurt. And how I've responded, at least in the past, has been to say, I don't like the way it feels to be hurt, and I don't want to have that happen to me again. And I subtly close off part of my heart to that. Now, if I, like, looking back, I've been hurt by relationships, I've been hurt by certain jobs or certain circumstances, and what I've noticed is, over time, I casually allowed myself to become bitter and cynical. Like, I slowly started closing off areas of my heart as a protective nature for myself and saying, yeah, I don't want that to happen again. I don't want to feel like that. But what I also noticed is it began to cut me off from being vulnerable. And so let me read this story. This story comes from the book of John. And it says, Jesus has died, hasn't risen again, but he's died. And so we're in that moment, that dark place. And so this is John 20. Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. Back in that time period, they weren't just graves they dug, they actually did them in caves, and they would push these huge stones over the front of it to prevent people from going in and robbing or doing whatever else people did. And so Mary arrives, noticed the stones moved from the entrance. And so she came running to Simon Peter and to the other disciple, the one Jesus loved, and said, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they've put him." So Peter and the other disciples started for the tomb. Now, what's interesting in this, to me, is, and how it speaks to me, is oftentimes when I've closed myself up for something, I don't look for it anymore. When I've said, that's never going to happen again, I shut myself off from the possibility of hope. And what I'm seeing here happening with these people that had been following Jesus is they had shut themselves off from hope, from being able to see something that was in the action of happening. Now, we don't know how the story ends. Like, if you're in this moment, you don't know how the story ends. But I'll give you a teaser. It goes on, and they come to find out his body wasn't stolen. Jesus was actually alive. He'd been resurrected. But we don't know that at this moment. And what I want to think about for myself, and I want to offer this to you, is ask you several questions of where have you closed yourself off from new things in your life? Where have you closed yourself off from hope? Where have you closed yourself off for being a dreamer as well too? Because it's been harder and harder as I've gotten older over the years. I feel like I've become more rational and realistic in many ways because, well, I've been there and I've done that and it just doesn't work. But as I begin to challenge myself, I begin to recognize that youthful hope and that exuberance that I used to have can still live today, and that life is still as exciting as it was when I was 20. I sometimes just have to move past a lot of my baggage and my hurts for this. And so as we begin to process into all these things, I want to challenge you to think about that. Where are ways in your life that you may have closed yourself off from things happening? Where are places where, and this can even come back to saying, like, do you believe in God? Don't you believe in God? Where are ways that you've closed yourself off from being open to the possibility that God is real? I know with me, there are days that I get so consumed in my stuff that I go through an entire day not even really paying attention to where is God moving in the world around me. And it goes back to that idea of an Easter egg hunt. When I enter into a day intentionally looking for those things, when I enter into a day intentionally looking to be open with people and with other things along these lines, I find it. In days when I close myself off on a very internal and self-absorbed, I don't find it. And I think I remember listening to my wife tell my kids this, is that, you know, the choice to either have a positive outlook on life or a negative outlook on life will impact how you look at life. Like, if you go looking for bad things to happen, I'm pretty sure you can find it. If you go looking for good things to happen in your path, I'm pretty sure you can find that as well too. And so it comes down to this, really a trajectory, a worldview, and how you're looking at things and looking to see how they transpire around you. And so my challenge is this: be open. Be open for the possibility of new things. Be open to walk away from some of those hard areas in your heart where you're saying that really can't happen again. And as we begin to process through stuff here, we'll have some questions and other stuff to look at, but be open for the possibility of hope to happen and for hope to surprise you.